Good day, ma'am. My name is Cedric Delorino. I am second year BPED student at University of Eastern Philippines. So this time, I will be discussing the physical, cognitive, and socio-emotional development of both intermediate schooler or the early childhood and the high schooler or the early adolescence. So let's proceed to the physical, cognitive, and socio-emotional development of early childhood. But first, let us define what is early childhood or the intermediate schooler. The early childhood or the intermediate schoolers are the school that caters for students in years 7 and 8. This covers students who are roughly aged 11 to 12 years old. This age group is often referred to as the young adolescent age group. These intermediate years of learning can take place at the intermediate school, a full primary school, or a middle school. Cognitive development of intermediate schoolers. Since children in this age are already in their childhood, rapid development of mental skills is evident. According to Jen Piaget, concrete operational thinkers can now organize thoughts effectively, although they can logically perceive the immediate situation. They can apply what they have learned to situations and events that they can manipulate. The second one is the initial cognitive characteristics. Intermediate school children greatly enjoy the abilities that they can now utilize. Their thinking skills have become more effective as compared during their primary years. Their schoolwork is now complicated. Reading texts have become more longer. Problem solving have become every part of their lives. Reading development, attention, creativity, the impact of media integrations. This is a need to be an eager participant in the children's growth and development. Must understand how to use the children's natural curiosity to help make the appropriate development leaps in their skills and abilities. Must create an atmosphere where rest can be taken and discoveries made while children remain safe. So now, let's move on to the social-emotional development of intermediate schoolers or the early childhood. At this period of social-emotional development, children are spending less time in the home. The bulk of their time spent outside the home, either alone or with other children rather than with adults. One of the most widely recognized characteristics of this period of development is the acquisition of feelings of self-confidence. This is what Erik Erikson referred to when he described the developmental tasks of middle childhood, the social crisis industry versus inferiority. Industry refers to the drive to acquire new skills and do meaningful work. The third one is the child should have a growing sense of competence. The child's definitions of self and accomplishments vary greatly according to interpretations in the surroundings environment. Varied opportunities must be provided in order for children to develop a sense of perseverance. They should be offered chances for both to fail and succeed, along with sensor, feedback, and support. The next one is the physical development of intermediate schoolers. First one, the pupil of late childhood is the period of calm before the growth spurt of adolescence. On the average, girls are generally as much as 2 years ahead of boys in terms of physical maturity. Puberty begins early. Budding breast for girls, which is the initial sign of puberty for girls. And now, let's move on to the physical, cognitive, and socio-emotional development of early adolescence. But first, what is early adolescence? High schooler or early adolescents, grades 7 to 12, and denotes the school years after elementary school and before college or university. Adolescents who complete primary education and continue on through secondary and tertiary education tend to also have better health, wealth, and family life. Physical development of childhood adolescence. During puberty, both sexes experience a rapid increase in height. For girls, this begins between 8 and 13 years old, with adult height reached between 10 and 16 years old. Boys begin their growth spurt slightly later, usually between 10 and 16 years old, and reach their adult height between 13 and 17 years old. Both nature and nurture. Nurture medications and medical conditions can influence height. Cognitive development of early adolescence. Cognitive development means the development of the ability to think and reason. Children ages 6 to 12 usually think in concrete ways. This can include things like how to combine, separate, order, and transform objects and actions. Adolescence marks the beginning development of more complex thinking processes. This time can include abstract thinking ability to form their own new ideas or questions. It can also include the ability to consider many points of view and compare or debate ideas or opinions. It can also include the ability to consider the process of thinking. During early adolescence, the use of more complex thinking is focused on personal decision making in school and home environments. This can include, first, begins to demonstrate use of formal logical operations in schoolwork, begins to question authority and society standards, begins to form and verbalize their own thoughts and views on a variety of topics. These are usually more related to their own life, such as which sports are better to play, which groups are better to be included in, what personal looks are desirable or attractive, what parental rules should be changed. Lastly, the socio-emotional development of high schooler or the early adolescence. Adolescence is the period of the life known for the formation of personal and social identity. Adolescents must explore, test limits, become autonomous, and commit to an identity or sense of self. Early in adolescence, cognitive developments result in greater self-awareness, the ability to think about abstract, future possibilities, and the ability to consider multiple possibilities and identities at once. Changes in the levels of certain neurotransmitters influence the way in which adolescents experience emotions, typically making them more emotional and more sensitive to stress. When adolescents have advanced cognitive development and maturity, they tend to resolve identity issues more easily than peers who are less cognitively developed. As adolescents work to form their identities, they pull away from their parents, and the peer group becomes very important. Despite this, relationships with parents still play a significant role in identity formation.